Hello and welcome back to a very, very special episode of Screen Tested. I am your host, Tyrant. Now this one is very much out of the ordinary. What you're about to see today is basically a behind the scenes of how we made the fight. Now, I say made it, it's not done yet, haven't even started, but I'm sure for you guys, it turned out good. I really hope it did. So this is just gonna be a little bit of behind the scenes look how I went about making it, how it was done, and let's get into it. Let's get started. What looks better, Nathan? With them kind of like this, catching the wind, or just free flowing?
I mean, that one looks cool, yeah. But that one, at least in the video, you can actually see the symbol.
Okay, yeah. Then I think that might be a little bit... Could two people go and stand like they're about to fight? Or let me put it this way, the swords that would have to stab into the ground are your Albion.
I know.
Like, I'm fine with stabbing this one in because I don't give a shit, but do you want to stab your Albion in there?
No, I don't.
Exactly. And jam you on. And can you grab my braces off the floor, please? Thank you. They're gonna need to be tight today as well. I'm not gonna lie, I'm already hot. Anything yet.
When you wear how many layers you're wearing right now?
So many layers, yeah. Have we got B-roll stuff?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a bit too tight though. I bloody cut off my circulation.
What looks better? Hand on sword?
Yeah. You good? We're about to head over and start doing the intro stuff, and then we're gonna come back and do your intro stuff. So today's short film has actually been in the works for quite a while now. Probably like a month and a half I've been working on this, behind the scenes on everything else, getting props done, making sure things like my swords, costuming, kit, the set, everything is ready to go for today. We have less than a day to get this done. We're going to be doing the choreography on the fly, which is something that I haven't done much of yet. The last time I did this, I did it with Nate for the last couple of fight scenes, and with Nate, we would do more just like freeform stuff. So today we're going to do a little bit of choreography, but we're going to do that choreography on the fly. I think it'll work and I think it'll go well. Before we do that, we've got to get all these little cinematic shots, so the opening shots done. But yeah, a big day that I am stressing about. I am stressed right now. I am very stressed, but luckily I have Nathan here with me. I have Marcus. We're getting everything done, everything ready. So it's good to have some help for this one. But yeah, I also have my brand new sword. I don't know if I've showed this on camera yet. It is brand spanking new. Nathan, how's that look on camera? Does it look good? Yeah. This is my new, woo. I'm not going to be using this. This is a sharp. This is actually a real sword. We're going to be using training swords. But behind the scenes. What?
It looks funny.
What?
The helmet itself is fine, but I think you look a bit funny in it. Because your nose kind of sticks out of the...
Well, I can't help that. There's nothing. All right,
Yeah.
can you stop recording, start recording, so then I can see what it looks like? So, unlike most other short films that I do, they're done on the day with nothing but my brain. Nathan can attest to this. It is always kind of a, how would you put it?
A madman's imagination, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's good alliteration.
Well, because the thing is, it takes more time for me to go, Nathan, I need the camera like this. Like, prevising it like this is very easy. I'll show you some of my scribble.
Some hieroglyphs. Tell me, can you tell what that is? Because I can't.
All right, so what we're going to do, though, is we've got to do these shots now. So, the ones with the helmet and stuff.
That's you?
No, I'm saying the one with the helmet and the sword over there.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is we're going to get kind of B-roll of it, because I want that to be the opening credits. Like really low down hero shots of the sword, maybe some of the helmet. We recorded, Marcus? So when it comes to these sorts of short films, they take a lot more effort and planning. For example, I would normally get like 5 videos done today, right? But today we're just getting one. Just one 5-minute short film. What I'm going for is 5 minutes like general runtime. 3 minutes of that will be like cinematic, opening, establishing shots, and then 2 minutes of choreography, fight scene stuff. So right now we're just trying to get some of those establishing shots, some of the opening stuff, which can take a little bit of time actually, which I'm okay with, because as soon as we start swinging swords around, I'm gonna get very hot in all this armor. I'm wearing proper steel brig today, so heavy.
What's the harm in that, eh? That's grass, I think, yeah. The squiggles.
I thought it was a river.
I thought it was grass.
A river with a giant helmet on the side.
That's a basketball.
Yeah, basketball, yep, and there's the goalposts.
Yep, goalposts, yep. That is... Actually, that
a
one.
House.
That, yeah. A house, yeah. That's a triangle.
Arming cap.
So once we finish Shad's intro and we've got his establishing shots, we're going to get 2 more establishing shots for each of us, and then we'll get some Foley before I forget, because we're going to need that. All right, so we'll do the exact same thing we did last time. We'll get a mix of just regular and then do a slow-mo kind of wrap up, just so we have that extra B-roll. I think for the first shot, we'll just get a little establishing shot of him walking down the hill. And same thing, remember, we do the focus in and out for transition points. If you just want to go in between these little trees here, just so we've got some backdrop for you. And Nathan, you do a B-roll, what should we call it? A B-roll flourish of him. Go up close, get sword shots and armor and all that sort of stuff. So not aiming for the set, kind of aiming for the water a bit. And if you're able to get a nice sweeping shot showing him, but also we want some sky stuff because we want to be able to put stuff in there later in post. So let's do another one. That was a bit slow. You're looking basically at the camera, like your body was flat to the camera. We want to keep you, yeah.
You're lucky I pulled the power out of that. Ready?
Yep.
Damn it, I got caught. I was dodging and everything.
So something that I did want to do while we were still out there on location was to talk to everybody, see how they felt about it, see how they, what were their thought processes as they were going through a lot of the stuff. However, we kind of just ran out of time. By the end of the day, we were all really kind of exhausted. We were very hot, got a little bit sunburnt, so we just kind of wanted to leave. So I thought I would do kind of like this little bit. I didn't realize how much I had to say on this topic, and this episode is probably going to turn a little bit more into from behind the scenes to more of a how-to and guide. I've seen enough short films and fight scenes on YouTube made by a lot of fans, a lot of passionate people, that I do think that I have some interesting and hopefully some helpful advice, because a lot of them, it's not their day job. It is my day job to make content. So I do think that I have at least something helpful to offer. So starting off with some of the things that I wanted to talk about, just related to this fight scene specifically, was we ended up being a little bit late. So in terms of timing, we originally wanted to get out there quite early, obviously. We only have one day to do it, and then film as much as we can and hopefully get everything done. We ended up leaving a little bit later, about half an hour late. Marcus actually got stuck in traffic on his way to get here. So we ended up being a little bit late to get down there. Then once we got there, we needed to go to Shad's to load up all the stuff, so then we could take it out to the filming location. However, we also were spent a little bit more time than I originally wanted or planned loading everything up. And then once we got out there, on the day, I actually changed the location, the shooting location. We were originally supposed to do it up higher on top of a hill. However, I felt that down by the pond looked way better. And I think that it looked better in the final product. But that also meant that things like lighting, because I had accounted for where the sun would be throughout the day, things like that ended up changing on the fly. So because I changed the location, it also meant that the sun was directly in our faces a lot, which made us obviously a lot more hot, a lot more tired. So a lot of things kind of compounded. We arrived late, things took longer than expected. And then when it came to the actual shooting and filming, when you're doing like cinematic shots, right? they can take a while to get right, to get the right sort of shots, the different angles. They can take a little bit longer than expected, but I did account for that, and the time it took to do those was what I expected. It's just because we were late and there was those other compounding issues, it meant that pushed us back even further. So we didn't actually start swinging blades and actually trying to choreograph and fight stuff till about 2:34 in the afternoon, which was a lot later than I originally planned. I checked the time codes on the video files, and 2:34 was when we started actually fighting. And we ended up finishing, as in the last, exchange of blades, not the outros. The outros took a little bit longer, but the actual choreography type stuff, we finished that up at about 4:43. So that's about 2 hours and 10 minutes of actual choreograph type fighting. Now that is not long at all. So I'll get into some of the things that I was unhappy with, or I appreciated a little bit later, but I've got like a big long list of things that I wanted to get through. So I just wanted to put that out there. We only actually fought, as in clashing the blades, for like 2 hours. It really wasn't long, and on top of that we were choreographing the fight on the go. And something that is worth bringing up is when you see these movies or these Hollywood fights, some of those fight scenes can take months, literally months, to choreograph, to film, to get everything done. So compare that to what took us a couple of hours, literally just 2 hours for the fight scene itself, and then everything else was just getting ready and getting out there and setting up, things like that. So 2 hours is not a lot of time compared to these big budget films that have so much time, so much manpower, so much planning, and also money. They have more resources, just in a general sense. So an interesting thought that I have about these things after the fact is, what would I change if I could, right? Because I've done a couple of them now, and it's funny, the one thing that I would change with all of them is consistent. It's the same thing, and that is time. You think you have enough time, right? You think, if I get out there maybe like 9 o'clock and then I stay till maybe like 5 or whatever, you have like 8 hours or whatever to do it. In reality, things happen, people are late, you're late, something may take longer than you think, getting the right shot might take longer, weather is always a factor. So it always comes back down to time for me personally. So I think the biggest issue with this, obviously, is filming as a fan, someone who doesn't have much money, right? You're most likely going to be doing it in nature, right? You're going to be out maybe in a forest, maybe at some park or something like that. And weather is kind of the biggest issue, because you want shots to be consistent between them. You need to kind of get it all done on the same day, or days that have the same sort of weather. Shooting over multiple periods of time makes things a lot less consistent, so it makes them lower quality. So time is usually the biggest thing that when I look back on these, I go, yeah, just more time would have made it so much better, so much better. There's also another point to add. When you're doing a fight scene, there is the physicality aspect of it. You get hot, you get tired. I was wearing basically full steel armor all day in the heat, in the sun. And that can be pretty exhausting. So even if I want to keep going, there'll become a point where I've just been doing it too much that, you need to rest, you need to take time. And, someone like Shad has his chronic fatigue, so he definitely needs to rest a lot more than just an average person, which means that also can take more time. That also is a lot more taxing on someone like him. But even for me, being out in that sun, in all that armor, swinging a sword around non-stop for a couple hours, it can take a lot out of you. With all the kind of the caveats, all the stuff that happened on the day out of the way, let's get into some of the nitty-gritty of actually, maybe composing a short film or a fight scene or something like that, as to how I go about it and how I would recommend other people go about it as well, because I think the final products are pretty cool, pretty good, and pretty high quality for the budget and manpower and all that sort of stuff. So starting off, let's have a look at some of my previs versus my final shots. You heard earlier they were making fun of my stick figure drawings that I drew in 5 seconds. The reason why I draw those terrible little stick figures is just so that I don't have to remember the composition and the flow of the shots on the day. I've done it a lot and it's very mentally taxing, and this was one of those ones where I already had so much that I had to think about and remember and do that remembering my previs and how I wanted shots done and all that sort of stuff, it would have just taken so much longer and it would have been so much more taxing on me. So it's one of those rare occasions where I'm like, you know what, I am prevising this, I'll draw my little stick figures, and then that'll help me remember. So as you can see with some of the previs versus the final shots, they're pretty close. They're pretty much what I wanted and expected. So there are a couple of rules that you have when it comes to composing a fight scene. We'll start off some of the basics. First and foremost, don't break the 180. The 180 is an imaginary line between the two combatants where your camera can go all the way around, but you never go on the other side of the combatants because you get whiplash. It's hard for you to follow, it's very disjointed, and it can make a very terrible fight scene. So you have a 180 line that you stay on. You can go all the way around up to that 180, but you never go over the 180, or else, like, there are some certain situations where I would say that you can kind of almost go over it, but they're very contextual. In a general sense, don't break the 180 line is a good first rule for a fight scene. If you can handle that one, your fight scene will probably be all right off the bat. The second one would be shaky cam. People hate shaky cam. Everybody hates shaky cam. Shaky cam is terrible, so don't have that. Those are the two main ones, the two basic ones. If you can stick to those two, you're probably going to create a pretty cool fight scene just in a general sense. Choreography is also very important when it comes to fight scene. Obviously, that's why a lot of people, I think, do fight scenes just in general, because they feel like they can do better than Hollywood, which in a lot of cases is 100% true. There are some fight scenes out there, you know, the Aderia fight scenes I would consider to be like the gold standard of fight scenes. They have got everything down from, you know, all the cinematography to the color grading, the editing, the pacing, and obviously the choreography itself is all just so fantastic. They are like top tier gold standard stuff. But those are just some of the things, right? So some advice that I would have for a lot of people out there making fight scenes on YouTube specifically, a lot more fans, you know, people who just, you know, maybe like making fight scenes and cinematic stuff. A lot of the issues that I see between most of them are very similar issues. And that is a big one in a lot of places is they feel very flat. The choreography itself may not be like, you know, terrible or anything like that. You know, acting is one of those things where acting is hard for anybody, sure, but they feel very flat. And how do you create depth in a fight scene? Well, personally, how I go about it is I like to have at least 3 different lengths, focal lengths, I don't know if I'd call them focal lengths, 3 different zooms or layers to a fight scene, and that is your close-up shots, so your close-up shots of your, you know, your actors, your wide shots where you can see what's actually happening with the fight, and then your slow-mos. Some people are a fan of slow-mos, some people aren't. Personally, I love slow-mos, specifically to slow down moments. Like, for example, you do a really, really cool, awesome move, but it's so fast, it's over in a second, you don't really see it. So having a slow-mo to double punch in on that, right? So you see a cool move and then it's slowed down very quickly, but it's not taking away from the overall fight. That's how I like to personally compose those fight scenes. And what that does is it gives you lots of depth to your fight. It also gives it suspense. It also gives it stakes rather than these long, single, continuous takes of fight scenes. I don't have any issues with the one take. However, one takes are very tricky to get right. First off, they take a lot of, choreography. They're also quite difficult to do just in a general sense, because I feel like a lot of people forget that there's 3 participants. In any fight scene, there's 3 participants. You have the 2 combatants, but then you also have the cameraman. The cameraman is a 3rd participant in a choreographed fight. You want to get the cameraman at specific spots, specific moments to get some really cool shots. So I feel like a lot of people kind of forget that the cameraman is also a part of the fight scene in a general sense. On top of that, I would also say a lot of other fan fights in a lot of, like the YouTube fights, they're very flat shots. Like I said, the fight scenes are very flat, but the shots are also very flat. I would say don't be afraid to experiment a little bit with different camera angles. I am a big fan on, hero poses, top down, top up, whatever it is, shots that really portray people in a heroic light, a cool light. Camera angles and creating specific shots is really important. Using darkness, using contrast is really good. That'll help you a lot. I would also say try to capture a lot of your stuff in camera. Fixing stuff in post is never a good idea. and it's always better to get really good foundational building blocks. So if you get really cool shots on the day, really cool angles and different perspectives, then half the battle's already done, because once you put it into editing, it already looks cool. You just make it look a little bit cooler. You also would have heard me say Foley earlier in the when I was on location. Foley is just basically sound effects. A lot of the sound effects that you hear in the entire short film is none of that is captured in camera. All of that is sound design that I have created from the ground up. From the wind sounds to the sword clashes to the crickets, all of that is sound design that is done after the fact. And the reason why is it gives you a lot more control, it makes it a lot more immersive, and it makes it pretty cool. And that also, can go into music choice. Music choice is so important for something like this. Humans are actually, we react to different sounds. Like if you watch a horror film and you have like suspense music, that actually can trigger somebody's fight or flight. So the sound and the music design in the short film is very deliberately chosen to elicit, that feeling, that tension. And that obviously heightens the experience, the watching experience. So sound design and music choice are also a really, really important part when it comes to creating little cinematic pieces like this. So those are some of the things that I would also recommend. There are other things like, VFX. If you're I am someone who believes that less VFX is more. There are some caveats to that, but I feel like if you know you're going to have VFX in a shot, compose the shot with your camera, as in your cinematography, to account properly for that VFX. Also, it's better to do simple VFX really well rather than really complex VFX really badly. So that's why I say less is more in a general sense. We're not Hollywood studios out here creating crazy pieces of VFX. So do simple stuff, but if you do that simple stuff really well, it can heighten things a lot more than usual, right? And then a good follow-on, I think, from the VFX stuff would probably be color grading. Color grading is really, really important for so many different aspects, because we don't have, like most normal people, right? They don't have access to huge, studios or sets or anything like that. Most of the time when you see a fan film or a fight scene or whatever, it's just going to be out in nature. So you have to be that much more creative to make it look that much more better. And I feel like one of the biggest issues is because a lot of these fight scenes, these fan films, all these sorts of stuff, they're very flat, they don't have very many cinematic shots, and because they're not really doing much color grading as well, it just looks very dude with his iPhone type thing, right? So if you try and incorporate a lot of these things, it'll help the end product look a lot better, at least in my opinion. And color grading is really, really important. Like on the simple end, you've got things like, highlights and shadows and color boosting and contrast. But there's also a more complex world of that when you get into things like LUTs, and you can really, dial in your color balance and your color profile. Having a unique color profile for something will help heighten it, because it makes it stand out. It makes it different from just two dudes out in the forest, But those are some of the basics that I would say that are good to start with. So pros and cons when it comes to the short film. First off, there are some really glaring obvious ones like the screws, the shoes, my pocket being upside down, things like that I have gripes with. In terms of like bigger overarching things, I did have a little bit, I wasn't too happy with the sword play itself. I felt like it could have been a little bit better. It could have been, maybe this is just me because I had different expectations because I'm the one, putting it all together and whatnot, but I did want it to be different. And I feel like the reason why it kind of upset me a little bit was simply because I feel like if we had just a little bit more time, it could have been so much better, right? So those are some critiques that I have with it, and maybe you guys have some of the same similar ones. I wasn't too happy with some of the things. I wanted more moments. Moments make fight scenes, in my opinion. And like, you know, those big moments. We have the moment where it doesn't cut through the armor. That's a cool moment. I wanted at least 2 or 3 of those. We only got 1 in the end, which it is what it is. There's not much we could do about it. In terms of positive things, I did like how a lot of the Previs matched up exactly what we got on the day. That was great. I always enjoy seeing something from my mind, being able to show you guys what's in my mind, right? That was good. I also liked some of the themes that I had going throughout it, the light and dark from the start to the end, that sort of stuff. I enjoyed that as well. So there are some critiques there, and there are also some things that I enjoyed about it. But on average, I think it was, you know, not too bad. I just think, personally, I let myself down a little bit. I feel like that's the way to describe it, because it could have just been so much better if I just had a little bit more time. A little bit more time. But I do think that is most things that I wanted to cover in this behind the scenes, how-to guide, whatever you want to call it, I'm not sure. All in all, only 2 hours of actual on the fly choreography. I think it turned out, given the context around it, it was a bit of a pain to get sorted. I don't know when I'll be doing another one, or it's probably going to be quite a while. These sorts of videos, the short film ones, are not really a good business decision for me. They're more just passion projects. Like, I'm passionate about the filmmaking aspect side of it and creating something really cool, rather than how much business sense it makes for me to spend a full day doing something that doesn't make much money. But that is going to be all for today's behind the scenes look. I just wanted you guys to see how much work actually can go into a 5-minute little short film. There's a lot of artistry, I would say, that goes into it, and I commend anybody who's willing to give it a go and try and create their own. Hopefully somebody who's doing a fight scene maybe one day watches this video and gets some tips, gets some tricks, is maybe able to incorporate some of the things that I said, that I recommended. That'd be pretty cool, because I think when we all see more cool fight scenes, I think everybody wins. I think it's a win-win for everybody. But that's going to be all for today's episode, guys. Thanks for watching. A bit out of the ordinary, but I was passionate about not only making the short film, but also making a behind the scenes as well, so you guys could get a little bit of an insight on how these things are put together. And that doesn't even cover any of the editing side of it, and, you know, picking the right clips and making sure things flow and getting it all working. Sound design is a huge aspect when it comes to these things. But that's going to be all for today. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, I'll see you in another episode. Have a good one.
Yep.
Slap it, bloody hell. Ready?
Yep.
Do that again. Slap that very hard. I slapped it. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, so Nathan, come over. Oh, no. Oh, shit.
What happened? All over.
I am so sorry, dude.
No traction control. Ready? The blade is floppy.
Hold it straight for me. Hold on, try and get position. Okay.
Nathan, you've got a pull tag on the inside of your gams.
Ready?
Sorry, come back before you sit down. I had to stop you because, you know, I zoomed out and you could see Marcus's shoulder and like.
Whew.